Good afternoon, Villa fans, and welcome to another episode of Aston Villa Transfer Talk. Keen to jump on. News has been breaking, has been gathering pace, shall I say, with this man over here. Keep doing that. Daniel Malen. Apparently, Ornstein and Percy, give credit to them, are saying that talks are underway. And there is significant interest in bringing him to Villa Park. Unai Emery is sanctioning the move, wants to add a bit of sort of flair, creativity, a lot of pace to the attacking line, something that we've missed quite a bit since obviously Diaby's gone. I'm glad that Vidigani and Monchi and Emery sit down and listen to me, because since my last sort of Villa Transfer Talk episode, we've been linked with Chuck Muezi a little bit with AC Milan, possible swap deal with Jaden Philogene going the other way, although that has quieted down a little bit in the last few days. And then Malik Fofana was the other player that I sort of pinpointed from, Christ's club Lyon, and they could be having a bit of a fire sale there. And, last few days I've seen his name mentioned a few times with not only Villa, but with Liverpool as well. But yeah, so I'm glad that Monchi and Vidigani sit down with a cup of tea and a tube of Pringles and enjoy my insights. So let's talk a little bit about transfer talk now and what's been happening. This is obviously the biggest news, I suppose, that's been reported. So what do we know about sort of Daniel Malen? He's a Dutch international. He's come through the Ajax academy, but left them at, I think, 15, went to join Arsenal. Spent a couple of years at the Arsenal academy, being coached by no other than Thierry Henry as assistant coach there. Might have been a bit older actually than 15. I think it might be about sort of 17, 18, but he was there for a couple of years at Arsenal, did really well, 44 goals in 2 seasons. Played predominantly as a centre forward, had a bit more hair back then, but he's known for his explosive pace, absolutely rapid. Only 5'9", so he's not massively tall. Maybe not someone to lead the line as such, but definitely effective from the wing and can give you that dynamism and pace and ball carrying ability that we've been so lacking this season. So, I mean, when the name was floated around, was it about a week ago or 10 days ago? I wasn't overly kind of excited by it. Didn't really sort of get me on the edge of my seat a little bit. I was like, okay. But obviously, as these things develop and grow, you take a bit more interest. You look a little bit more closer into the player. Obviously, everyone's looking at sort of the YouTube reels and things like that. And I know that YouTube can paint players in a different light and can make, Bosco Balaban or Alexander Tonev look like world beaters. And that's not the case. But, Malen has come back from serious injury. He had knee surgery back in sort of 2020, which kept him out for a whole year, basically. Threatened to sort of, cut his career short. But he's bounced back. He struggled to get regular game time in the Dortmund team. It's 13 appearances this season, 3 goals. He does play sort of high and wide, like sort of Leon Bailey does on that sort of right-hand side. Can play left-hand side and obviously cut in as well. So he can play anywhere across the front positions, which would be good and would definitely give us some options that we don't have at the moment. Obviously, Duran's suspended at the moment. Watkins is your only option as centre forward now. So, if Malen did come in, he could possibly play further and central as well. But I think he's best from the wing. And obviously, he's been coached by the likes of like Dennis Bergkamp at the Ajax sort of academy. Left them to join Arsenal, then coached by Thierry Henry, which sort of finessed his game a little bit better. And that's why he got the 44 goals in that sort of the youth team at Arsenal. Then he decided to move back to Holland and joined PSV's sort of B team. I think it's PSV Jong. Did really well there as well. Only spent a season there, I think 13 and 22. Promoted to the PSV first team. Good record there as well. I think it's 40 goals in about 80 games, so 1 in 2. And then got his move to Dortmund back in 2021, I believe it was, for 25 million. I think they paid for him back then. But his career, as I said, has been hampered by some injuries. But he's now looks like he's fully recovered from that. He does have this explosive pace. I mean, he's got a good. He can hold up the ball well and sort of draw defenders in and then spin away. Is probably his strength, and his acceleration over the first sort of 10, 15 yards is explosive. Sort of like Diaby, as I mentioned there, but very quick. Sometimes not the most composed finisher. Sometimes does sort of technique-wise, when it comes to shooting, isn't always the best. He's one of those players that can be frustrating. Like, he'll miss an easy chance and then all of a sudden put one in the top corner from 30 yards. So it's one of those sort of players where the frustration can come in with him. But if it is a loan move, which is being talked about, all for that. Loan moves are brilliant, especially this time of the year if we can bring in someone. But if he comes in on loan, he's obviously going to want to have assurances that he's going to be playing. That's the whole reason of leaving Dortmund to come to Villa, is that he's going to be playing. So I can see him playing. Him and Bailey sort of in rotation, and maybe it might give Bailey the kick up the arse that he needs, because obviously Philogene is not pressing him anywhere near enough for his position. But this just might give and kickstart Leon Bailey a little bit more, like the Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey competition that we had last season, which seemed to bring the best out of Bailey. And if you look at this season, not just Bailey, but 0 goals at the halfway point, 0 goals for McGinn in the Premier League. I know he's got a couple in the Champions League, 0 goals for Tielemans in the Premier League. I know he's got a couple again in sort of Champions League as well. But that's just not good enough. We need goals from other players in different positions, especially those forward-thinking players. McGinn has played majority of the season as a forward kind of player, and to have 0 goals after 19 games, it's not good enough. And that's a position that we need to look at, whether it's in January or whether it's in the summer. I think the summer might be a better time to buy players in those sorts of positions. I think right now we just need players who can come in, make an impact, have a point to prove, like this player. No, this player there, Malen. So I'm kind of for it now. I've sort of convinced myself that this actually would be a good signing, either on loan or if we did get him for what's been suggested at 18 million plus add-ons, which could move up to 25 million. He's only 25 years of age. So he's played a lot of, he's played a lot of football. He's been around for a long time, but he's only 25. So he's still got his peak career ahead of him. So I think Unai Emery could work with this player. I'm not sure what he would give us defensively. And I know that Unai likes to get even those forward players pressing and defending and things like that. I don't see much of Malen sort of as in the defensive third, but maybe that's an area of the game where Unai can work on him and get the best out of him. So for me, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I think Donyell Malen, either on loan or for 18 plus add-ons, we should bring him in. We are lacking that. There aren't many other options out there. The names that I mentioned, like Chuck Moazy, those links have gone quiet a little bit now. We've also been linked with defenders. Obviously, my last sort of transfer talk was looking at sort of wingers and ball carriers, and that's all we needed at that point. But we've since had Pau Torres go down injured. Looks like it's a serious metatarsal injury, which could be 2 to 3 months, which is a large chunk of the second half of the season. So he's going to be missing for a lot of games. We've got Tyrone Mings that can come in, but you've got to remember he's also coming back from this ACL injury. And he's already said himself that he's still in his recovery stage, even though he's sort of fit to play. But there will be times where he can't play, 2 games a week, and we've got Champions League to contend with and things like that. So we do need to look at centre-back options in January. It's either that or, we go with what we've got and we use the likes of Cy Swinkles. Never seen him play before. I wouldn't want to see that. Lamar Bogard is there. Wouldn't want to see that either, especially in a Champions League game. And obviously we're getting towards only 2 games left of the league round, and it could be leading to knockout situations now. So we've got to be careful. We've got to bring in another defender. I think Ezri Konsa right back, that experiment has to end now. He cannot play there. Matty Cash. And then there's rumours that we should bring in a right back as well, which I'll come on to in a moment. So I think it's going to be a busy January. We've got lots of games in January as well, which doesn't help because obviously you want to get business done and things like that. But we've got, Champions League and I think it's 5-6 games in January as well. On top of that, cup games, FA Cup, Premier League obviously as well. So it's going to be busy and try to get business done around that. I'm hoping that Monchi and Vidagani and all the, people have already identified players, and players like Donyell Malen were identified, way before the window opened. And it's just a case of, making contact and agreeing those sort of deals. Portuguese defender linked today. Benfica one, Antonio Silva, I think his name is, 21-year-old young defender. I haven't seen a lot of him personally, just what I've seen on sort of YouTube and stuff. 6'2", athletic, loves a slide tackle by the looks of it, can play left-hand side, but more right-footed, likes to ping the ball. So they're saying, he's going to cost a lot of money, like 40 million upwards. I can't see us spending 40 million on a centre-back, especially when we've still got the PSR side of it to contend with. So that's again, my kind of little worry here as well. We have apparently agreed to buy an 18-year-old Turkish defender called Yasin Ozkan from Kasımpaşa, who are a team that we got back post-Trez from, Trezeguet, for those who remember back post-Trez. So we have history with the club, and we have bought players from them before. Looks like we've bought this player with one eye for the future. He is a left-sided defender. He's a ball-carrying defender, similar to like a Pau Torres kind of mold. Obviously, he needs to fill out and become bigger. I think he's about 6 foot tall already, but he's played about 40 games already in the first team. He broke into the first team at 16. And they rate him highly. I think the fee is 8 million. I'm not sure whether he stays there for the season and then comes to us maybe in the summer, but he's obviously someone that we've scouted. He's very much in the mold of Kostan Nedeljkovic, in a similar sort of age profile. So I can't see him being sort of bought in now and kind of relied on to play in the first team, although he's probably more ready than Swinkels or maybe Bogard is. But I can't really see that happening at this moment in time. Other centre-back options that I think have been talked about is Joel Ordonez, a 20-year-old Ecuadorian defender, plays for Club Bruges, who we obviously played in the Champions League and who beat us. He impressed in that game. My understanding is that Villa scouts have been watching him since then and do like what they see. A very composed defender, good on the ball, loves a diagonal again. He's right-footed, though. He's someone that, if you did bring him in, he would be a long-term replacement for Diego Carlos. And that could potentially happen. I think the transfer market are valuing him around sort of 18 to 20 million. So he's 20 years old. He's South American, similar to like Jean Duran. Maybe that could help him settle in. But he looks like a good defender. He stood out in the game. I remember him playing and I thought, who's this guy? He looks quite good. He was matching Ollie Watkins, matched him a couple of times for strength as well. And at 20 years of age, obviously, you've got to start looking at sort of those sorts of players. So Joel Ordonez, just remember the name. If it's not going to happen now, I've got a feeling it might happen in the summer. But Joel Ordonez from Club Bruges. The other defenders that we've been linked with that I can't see this happening is Ficuro Tomori, ex-Chelsea at AC Milan. Not getting the game time at Milan at the moment. Again, would he come to Villa and be happy in a rotation kind of basis? His wages will be really high. They obviously want to shift him on a permanent, which is going to cost upwards of 40 million. I'm not sure about that. He's about, I think he's 27, 28 for Tomori. He's obviously been capped by England. He is a good defender, but where will he fit in and how would we get around the PSR thing? We can't go blowing loads and loads of money on these types of players. We might have to, box a little bit clever and use the loan market. So Tomori was one. Antonio Silva from Benfica is another name that's been talked about. This Yasin Ozkan, obviously, coming in, being agreed, whether he comes in now or in the summer or blown back to Kasımpaşa, I don't know. And then obviously Joel Ordonez is a name that has been doing the rounds of several Premier League clubs that are looking at him. I know Wolves were interested. I know Liverpool are interested. And Villa have also been keeping a close eye on him as well. But these are the sort of players that you need to have a look at. And then who else is available? I mean, Clement Lenglet, can we get him back on loan for the rest of the season? Left-sided defender. Didn't really let us down too much when he was here. He's quite, he's happy to be that rotation sort of player. Would he be happy to come in again for sort of 6 months? I'm not sure what he's doing at Atletico Madrid at the moment. I think he's got 13 games this season, but I don't think he's starting very many of those appearances. Probably a lot from the bench for the last few minutes. But Clement Lenglet, SOS, can we get him back maybe? And then looking at right back situation, as I mentioned, now with Torres out injured, Konsa is going to have to play centre back. It's going to be between Konsa, Carlos, and Mings as the main sort of three. You're obviously going to play two of those, likely to be Mings and Carlos, I would say. No, sorry, Mings and Konsa. And then Carlos, he might even leave this January, Carlos. But I can only see him going if we've definitely got at least two coming in. So maybe we hold on to Carlos until the summer when things are a little bit more clear. The Pau Torres injury is just throwing everything into the spanner in the works, basically. But the right back situation needs to be looked at. I think we need to look at who we can bring in. Matty Cash is there, does well. Obviously, he has his qualities and his negatives. He's good at one-on-one defending. He's not very good going forward. Balls into the box are not brilliant. He's someone that I would love to keep hold of and keep him in the squad and have him as a kind of rotation with someone. My dream right back is Denzel Dumfries from Inter Milan, but I can't see that happening like now or even in the summer. He just seems to be settled at Inter Milan. They're doing really well. They've got one of the best defenses around. But he's an absolute unit of a defender and someone who would be perfect for that right back. He's excellent sort of going forward, defending. He's an aerial threat. He's everything that you want in a defender there. And then the other sort of right back, names been cropped up. I think Dan Bardell's mentioned this. I think a couple of others have mentioned this. And then we've got Kyle Walker-Peters, who I mentioned in my pre-season video about looking at someone like Kyle Walker-Peters because I think he's better going forward than Matty Cash. And I'll stick by that. But I was kind of laughed at a little bit. Everyone was like, "No, what are you on about? No way. Absolutely, Matty Cash is better than Walker-Peters." But I think Walker-Peters would be a sensible signing. His contract is up in the summer. You could probably get him for 1 to 2 million now in January. He could play Champions League because obviously he's not playing at any sort of level for Southampton like that. So I think Kyle Walker-Peters, 27 years of age, he's been capped by England as well. Good going forward. I think him and Matty Cash on that right-hand side, that would allow you to loan out Kostan Nedeljkovic, get him some minutes into his legs and maybe sort of championship or something. I think that'd just be an astute move. You know what I mean? Like having those two battling out a right back, and that would end Ezri Konsa at right back, which is what we all want to see. Don't ever want to see Ezri Konsa at right back again. If we can buy someone like Walker-Peters, who I think is a good player going forward and defensively. I think he's got it all. He's not the best right back in the world, but I think he would provide excellent competition and rotation, like we've got with Digne and Maatsen there. It will just keep Cash on his toes a little bit. The competition with Maatsen is bringing the best out of Digne. This is the best version of Digne that we've seen. And it's no coincidence that you've got someone breathing down his neck who's willing to take his place at a moment's, one game not doing well for Digne and Maatsen's in. But Digne's got the consistency. So that's what I think anyway. So yeah, Marlon, I think yes. Tomori, not going to happen for me. As I said, Swinkles, Ozcan it's difficult with that one. Haven't been any other sort of out. There's been loads of little tentative sort of links here and there, and there's been some stupid links as well. But I'm not going to give any sort of coverage to. But I think this Daniel Marlon one is the one that's probably moving fastest ahead at the moment. And I hope that we've got things agreed already, and it's just a case of getting him over and getting it all signed and sealed. I can see this one moving quite fast. If Percy and Ornstein are reporting it already, it wouldn't surprise me by, after the Leicester game, that we don't get an announcement of this being done. I think he'd like to prove himself in the Premier League. Obviously, played in the Arsenal Academy, as I mentioned, and I think he will do well for us. But anyway, guys, give me your thoughts. Who should we be looking at? Are there names that are cropping up that you'd like to see and hear? Is Daniel Marlon the answer, or is he another Timo Werner, Adama Traore? Do you know what I mean? But as I said, if it's a loan, brilliant. If it's a loan with an obligation to buy if he does well, brilliant. At least then he's got to prove himself. But I can see some logic in this signing, Kyle Walker-Peters signing, and then centre-back wise, it's difficult to buy centre-backs in this moment, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if we just hung on to what we've got, Carlos staying, go with that sort of 3 in rotation and have Swinkles or Bogard as the 4th choice. It wouldn't surprise me if we did not bring in a centre-back because Pau Torres could potentially be back around March and for the run-in, perhaps. So you don't want to bring in a centre-back that's just going to be sat there doing nothing. So unless they're happy to do it, Clement Longley, that springs to mind. And then, Walker-Peters at right back for Cash would be a decent signing. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts about Daniel Marlon, what you think about it, pros and cons of it. What I've just said about him to you, has that convinced you? Has that put you off? Let me know your thoughts, guys. Get your comments in. If you made it this far in the video, do like and subscribe as well. We are growing the numbers, and I'll be back at you with another video very soon, probably a match preview for the Leicester game. In fact, I'll just quickly do it now. Match preview for the Leicester game on Saturday. It's Thursday now, so it's going to be tight. They're not in great form. They've lost quite a few games. I think only one win in December. The rest of them were sort of defeats and I think draws. Van Nistelrooy's honeymoon period is sort of coming to a close, but I would say that we're probably going to win this game, Villa Park. I think if we don't win it, we are in trouble, but I'm going to go with a 3-0 win to Aston Villa. Clean sheet start the year, comfortable win, and let's go for it. Let me know your thoughts on the game, your predictions. Until the next video, up the Villa.